everyone, my name is Vina, aka Miss WOC Reader, and welcome back to my channel. So June is Caribbean American Heritage Month, and I live in a neighborhood with mostly Caribbean people, and I myself am Caribbean American. I have family in Trinidad and Tobago and in Guyana. So both my parents are Caribbean born and raised, and it's been a big part of my upbringing. So Cindy from Book of Cinz decided to create this hashtag Read Caribbean, and she found out that June is Caribbean American Heritage Month, and we know how US centric the online book community is and how they love a readathon, so she figured it's the perfect way to encourage more people to pick up books by Caribbean authors. So she's the sweetest person and amazing content. I will link her down below. I decided I want to do my part and show off some of these books, because sometimes I will read a book and the author is Caribbean American or British Caribbean, and I just don't mention it if the book does not specifically mention Caribbean heritage. So some of these I've talked about before, but I did not mention that they were Caribbean authors. I tried to pull books that I don't usually talk about, so these are not all the books I have by Caribbean authors. These are just some of them. And because I like to split everything into age categories to make it easy to find books for young and old, I'm going to start with the youngest and go off to the oldest. So the first one that I have is Under the Mango Tree. This is by Valdine Mark, illustrated by Sawyer Cloud. It is a fun picture book about friendship set in the Caribbean. Valdine Mark is from St. Vincent. She now lives in the US, and she created her own book imprint called Sugar Apple Books. I will leave the link down below to where I got this book from, and I highly recommend checking it out. And just to give you a taste of what the artwork is looking like, look at that. So it's just like a fun, sweet, quick read to a kid who will really enjoy it. The next book that I have is The Ocean Lives There. So this author is M.J. Fierre, and it's illustrated by Polina Histrovskova. I'm probably butchering their names. I really do apologize. But it was a great book where, like, this mother was introducing her daughter to her homeland of Haiti. And I feel like whenever people think about Haiti, a lot of times they do think about, like, the poor children there. And yes, while Haiti is very, very poor, there's a lot of beauty that it offers, and I love that it gives you an insight. Like, it's a normal Caribbean island like every other island. The people are doing what they can do to survive, and they have a beautiful culture worth recognizing. And it actually reminded me of, like, the books that we used to, like, read in our anthologies back in grade school. Really great illustrations. I really love that art style. And yeah, I definitely recommend that you check this one out. This is also independent published. It's from Mango Publishing, and they had gifted me a copy of it. I had talked about it in a previous video, but I will leave this one linked down below as well so you can purchase. And then the next book that I have is by Carol Otley Mitchell. It is Chaos in Castries. She kind of does these little children's mysteries, and she is from St. Kitts. I actually found out about this book through the Bocas Lit Fest, which is a literary festival that takes place in Trinidad and Tobago. And this was up for an award, and I saw that it was kind of like an easy reader book, and I decided to buy it, and I'm going to pass it along to my niece because I'm trying to encourage her to read, and I do want her to read more books by Caribbean authors, because while she does spend time around her Caribbean family, since she's like unlike her dad, who grew up with Caribbean parents and then went back to Trinidad a couple of times as a child, she's never been. So it's always good to make sure that children understand and recognize the culture and are able to embrace it. So then let's get on to the middle grade books. I have a couple here. So I did mention this book in another video. It inspired my video, Why Don't Black People Swim? And that is Swim Team by Johnny Christmas. This is a graphic novel. I have an ARC, so mine is unfinished artwork. That's why I'm not going to flip through it. But I do recommend it. It's a great graphic novel. Graphic novels are good because they tell such unique stories in a way that like a long form book wouldn't necessarily be able to capture. And it's good for, they're also good for reluctant readers, and I'm also finding that they're able to talk about books that like, they're able to talk about topics that might come across as preachy in a long form book while still making it interesting. And I thought Johnny Christmas did a good job explaining why black people in the US don't really swim a lot, why swimming is important, and why it is important for the children in this story to save the pool, to save the school pool, because it's the only pool in their neighborhood that's free for the public to come in and swim in. There's just like so many obstacles for black people having access to swimming pools, which I did talk about in that video. Highly recommend Swim Team. And then I did a standalone review of this before, but this is A Comb of Wishes by Lisa Stringfellow. Lisa Stringfellow has a father who is from Barbados, and she wrote these stories inspired by the stories that he used to tell her as a child. And it is set on a fictional Caribbean island. It has evil mermaids, so if that's your thing, you definitely want to pick this up. I know BookTube is like on an I love middle grade kick, but I don't see books like this being talked about, so definitely recommend checking out A Comb of Wishes by Lisa Stringfellow. Then I have some YA books. So the first one that I have actually comes out in August, but I have read books by this author before, so I'm expecting it to be great because I'm very familiar with her work. She's been writing since I was a teen. This is A Girl's Guide to Love and Magic by Debbie Rigo, and this one is actually set at the West Indian Day Parade in New York City. So we're getting Caribbean characters who are celebrating their heritage, and as always we get a little bit of black romance. I'm a big pusher of black romance on this channel, so this is going to be a good read. I will be reading this one next month. The next book that I have is The Witchery by S. Isabel. This one comes out in July, and if you like YA witch stories, you might want to check this one out. It is a little bit dark, and it's set at magic school. I know a lot of people are looking for books set at magic schools. S. Isabel is Haitian American. I did talk about this one before. It wasn't my favorite, but it might be something that you enjoy. Then the next one that I have is Dream Country by Shay Brown, and I did start reading it. I haven't finished yet, but I did like what I initially read. What intrigued me is that it's inspired not only by her Jamaican heritage, because Shay Brown is British Jamaican, but it also was inspired by Brazilian heritage. And if you like YA fantasies, I think this is gonna be up your alley. I decided to actually buy a special edition, so mine is the Fairy Crate the Fae Crate exclusive edition. It has the gold edges, and I actually haven't seen like a special edition of like a black A book that's been so pretty. Like, check out like under the cover, gorgeous. And the back, really pretty. And then it also has like an alternate cover, exclusive dust jacket art. Like I said, it's probably the prettiest YA special edition that I've ever received. Brittany from Read with Melanin talked about it in a video recently, but a lot of the times like these special editions of books by people with color, they just do the bare minimum. They just like keep the same cover and spray the edges, or they slightly change the colors on the dust jacket and think they did something, and you're spending like all this money for this exclusive book and it's like not even like fancy. So I really appreciate that we had like this really like gorgeous edition, and I'm definitely going to finish reading it before the end of the year. I do have some adult books here. This one is What Happens in Miami by Nadine Gonzalez. If you're interested in a quick read by Harlequin, definitely check this one out. It is set in Miami, of course, and the characters are of Haitian and Afro-Caribbean descent. Nadine Gonzalez is of Haitian descent, and it's just a quick, unsexy read. Perfect for the summer. And then I have The Black God's Drums by P. Djeli Clark. I read this one a while back, and it's probably my favorite work from him. This is what really inspired me to pick up more of his work. And he is an author of Trinidadian descent as well, which is part of what also intrigued me to this. There's a character in this book who is of Trinidadian heritage. And this is kind of like a steampunkish style alternate history novella. It's centered around this teen who is living on the streets, and she teams up with like these pirates. And it's I don't want to give too much away because it is a novella, but it's a very interesting read. Definitely check this one out. Then I have A Tall History of Sugar. This is by Ella Forbes. I have not read this yet, but I was intrigued from the time I read the cover and looked at the synopsis, and I think that it's going to be a very interesting story. I've heard great things about it, and it is by a Jamaican author. So, A Tall History of Sugar tells the story of Moshe Fisher, a man who was born without skin, so that no one is able to tell what race he belongs to. And Ariane Christie, his quixotic soulmate, who makes it her duty in life to protect Moshe from the social and emotional consequences of his strange appearance. The narrative begins with Moshe's birth in the late 1950s, 4 years before Jamaica's independence from colonial rule, and ends in the era of what Forbes calls the fall of the empire, the era of Brexit and Donald Trump. The historical trajectory layers but never overwhelms the scintillating love story as the pair fight to establish their own view of loving against the moral force of the colonial plantation and its legacies that continue to affect their lives and the lives of those around them. Written in lyrical, luminous prose that spans the range of Jamaican Englishes, this remarkable story follows the couple's mysterious love affair from childhood to adulthood, from the haunted environs of rural Jamaica to the city of Kingston, and then to England, another haunted locale in Forbes' rendition. So this one's definitely going to appeal to my literary fiction readers. I do dip my toe into literary fiction. I don't always read it. I haven't been reading it much this year. So this is definitely on my TBR because I do want to get back into it. And let me know down below if you're interested in any of these books. If you like this video, make sure and hit that like button. Make sure to read Caribbean, not just this month, but every month. And as always, thanks so much for watching. I'll check in with you guys soon. Bye!